we're going to talk about Archie's problem. Archie is Sheltie, and he's gained about 10 pounds. Sorry, Archie. Gained about 10 pounds in a few months. And that is a big problem with dogs. Some dogs eat too much, and they put it on as fat. And then what it does is it pulls down on their back and their hips, and if they have any arthritis or any joints wearing out, it causes a lot of pain. So they walk less, they burn less calories, they eat the same amount, and then they get fatter, and then it makes their joints hurt more, they walk even less. So it's a cycle of obesity. So Archie says, oh, I think I'll lay down while he's hot. It's good, Archie. Because that's what you want to do all day. So if a dog lays down all day, how much calories do they need? Not many. What a lot of people tell me is, oh, we feed 2 cups a day. So Archie's getting about 2 cups of it like this a day. But is this a cup? It's a glass, but a cup is 8 ounces. This is 8 ounces. Let's see where it goes in the cup. So, it's pretty, isn't it? The flowers, it's going halfway up the flowers, so it's leaving that much. So that's about 8 ounces. So when you measure the amount of food you give your dog, you have to measure in order to know how much you're feeding. And don't, if your dog's obese, you can't leave it out there all day to graze. Because if dogs are eating too much, they gain too much weight. Some dogs can't stand the calories in dry food because there's a lot of carbohydrates. So you can do these 2 things which really help. You can wet down the dry food and feed half as much, or you can feed half as much of the dry food in green beans, and that will cut the calories in half. And then your dog won't have these problems. And if you want to learn how to home make food for your dog, go to my website, dogdishdiet.com. And in my book, I talk about crock-potting for your dog and adding more vegetables and less meat in order to get the calories down. It's like eating more salad. So that's what you have to watch out for. And if you're feeding little biscuits, each one of those are 20 calories, so don't feed a lot of biscuits. So the lesson is to measure the food, feed less food if your dog's heavy, and to make sure you know how much they're getting. So what I noticed about Archie is when I press on his back, he's a little painful, but he's painful on his hips too, as I feel, and he's having trouble getting up and down. So with dogs, what veterinarians do is we feel certain areas, and as I push on his back, he quivers, which means he has some back pain. But also, as he walks, he's limping on his hindquarters, so he's having trouble getting up and down. Is it just that he's heavy, or is it that there's arthritis? And that's why we're going to look at the x-rays. There's another thing that can cause obesity. It's a thyroid problem. If his body doesn't make enough thyroid to burn off calories, then he will get heavy. So we took some blood to measure his thyroid to see if that's the cause of his problems. And we're going to send the blood to the lab, and what they do is they will measure the thyroid circulating in his blood, and then they'll tell us if he needs thyroid pills to raise the thyroid level in his blood. If you raise the thyroid level in the blood, it burns off more calories. So let's take a look at the x-rays. So we'll take our x-rays of Archie, and we'll see and make sure that he's not why he's painful in his spine or his hips. And so we have to take x-rays in the digital x-ray machine, and the image will pop up right there in a few minutes. So Archie's hips, this is the femur, these are the leg bones, and then this is the ball and socket. And if you look, you can see that in this ball, it fits very close against the socket. There's no space, so the cartilage is probably pretty worn down. And in this this hip joint, there's very little space at all, and the ball is a little bit indistinct. So there's pretty good arthritis in this joint, or this, at least there's pain as the cartilage wears down, and there's less lubrication, there's more pain. So that's a really good, what really is a good thing to use for these hips is glucosamine products. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Then in the back, the spine looks pretty good. The discs and the spaces in between are pretty good. There's not a lot of arthritis like I've showed you in previous videos, but this space here is a little narrowed, so we could have the disc in this, between these two vertebrae there's a disc space, and the disc in here could be pressed and putting pressure on the nerve, which causes pain. And anytime an animal's obese, obese animals, what happens is it pulls the spine down and causes pressure on these areas. And then if the animal is overweight, it definitely causes more pressure in the ball and joint. So that ball, now that it doesn't have cartilage, it's rubbing much harder on this joint and causing pain.
Dogs are just like people. How many people do we know that just can't eat pizza and french fries and potato chips? And unfortunately, the level of carbohydrates in a lot of dry foods are very high. Dogs that get fat eating dry foods shouldn't have dry foods. Maybe canned food would be a better choice, or homemade food, or raw food. They have more moisture in them and it dilutes out the calories, so they don't gain weight as easily. In fact, in my book Dog Dish Diet, I talk about a lot of those things. But an easy fix would be just to take the amount of dry food you normally feed, measure it, and feed half as much diluted with water. That cuts the calories in half. Another thing you can do is eat the same amount of dry food you normally feed. If you feed a whole cup or 2 cups, make it a cup. And then instead of feeding a cup of dry food, you feed half a cup of dry food and half a cup of green beans. So that's another great way to dilute the calories. Dogs that are heavy just need less calories, so a lot of the dense calories like biscuits and dry food can give way to carrots and diluted dry food or canned food. If you can get your dog out to get a little exercise, it builds muscle and burns calories, and that's also a nice way to get them to lose weight. Don't forget the thyroid condition. If you have a dog that's heavy, his blood might need to be tested to see if he has a low thyroid or she has a low thyroid level. A thyroid level helps. Normal thyroid level burns calories. If it's low, you just don't burn the calories. So those are ways that dogs are getting obese. Just not all can eat dry food. Some have to eat less dry food. Certainly have to be fed a measured amount of dry food instead of it being left out. Canned food's better, raw food's better, and also you can home make dog food with less calories in it by putting in more vegetables, and you can see that in Dog Dish Diet. So anyway, have a great day and enjoy life. We're only here for a while, and love your pets. See you soon.